In the waning days of the 1960s, a dark shadow fell across Northern California. A name emerged from the fear, whispered in hushed tones: the Zodiac Killer. This wasn't merely a criminal, it was an entity, a phantom who stalked lovers' lanes, terrorized communities, and brazenly mocked law enforcement through a series of cryptic letters and ciphers. His arrival marked the end of innocence for many, plunging the Golden State into an era of unprecedented dread. He wasn't just taking lives, he was stealing peace of mind, leaving behind a chilling legacy that continues to haunt us decades later. His story is a stark reminder of the unknown terrors that can lurk just beyond the periphery of our lives. December 20, 1968. A quiet Friday night near Vallejo, California. David Faraday, 17, and Betty Lou Jensen, 16, were on their first date, parked at a secluded spot on Lake Herman Road. They sought privacy, a moment of youthful connection under the stars. Instead, they found terror. A vehicle pulled up, an unknown assailant emerged, and within minutes, two promising young lives were extinguished by gunfire. David, shot in the head, died almost instantly. Betty Lou, attempting to flee, was shot 5 times in the back. This brutal, unprovoked attack marked the true, chilling beginning of the Zodiac's reign, though his identity was yet to be revealed. Less than 7 months later, on July 4, 1969, the nightmare returned. Darlene Farron, 22, and Michael Mageau, 19, were parked at the Blue Rock Springs golf course in Vallejo. Again, a car approached. Again, an attacker emerged. This time, a blinding flashlight was shone into their faces before shots rang out. Darlene Farron died from her wounds. Michael Mageau, miraculously, survived, despite being shot in the face, neck, and chest. He would provide the first, vital description of the killer, a stocky white male, about 26 to 30 years old. But this was just the beginning of the killer's macabre game, as he was about to make his presence known in a truly terrifying way. Just an hour after the Blue Rock Springs attack, a chilling phone call was made to the Vallejo Police Department. The caller, calm and monotone, confessed to both the Faraday-Jensen murders and the Farron-Mageau shooting. He described the weapons and the locations with unnerving accuracy, demonstrating intimate knowledge of the crimes. This was no ordinary killer, this was someone who craved recognition, who delighted in terrorizing not just his victims, but the entire community and the authorities tasked with protecting it. The phone call was a declaration, a personal challenge to the police, signaling the killer's deliberate intent to engage in a deadly cat-and-mouse game. On July 31, 1969, 3 distinct letters arrived at the San Francisco Examiner, the San Francisco Chronicle, and the Vallejo Times-Herald. Each letter contained details of the murders only the killer would know, confirming their authenticity. The author demanded that his letter, or parts of it, be published on the front page of the newspapers, threatening to go on a kill rampage if his demand wasn't met. He also included a complex, 408-symbol cipher, claiming it contained his identity. This was the moment the killer truly began to control the narrative, turning the media into his unwilling accomplice, amplifying his terror across the state and beyond. The challenge was laid bare: a cryptogram, a jumble of symbols, promised to reveal the killer's name. Newspapers published excerpts of the letters and the cipher, sparking a nationwide scramble to crack the code. Many tried, but it was a high school teacher, Donald Hardin, and his wife, Betty, who successfully deciphered the 408-symbol message just days after its publication. The decoded text was chilling, a rambling, unhinged manifesto filled with egocentric boasts and dark intentions. It spoke of collecting slaves for the afterlife and the joy of killing, offering a terrifying glimpse into the mind of a predator. This cipher was a key moment, defining the killer's audacious and cruel persona. On August 7, 1969, another letter arrived, this time specifically addressed to the San Francisco Examiner. It began with the words, "Dear Editor, this is the Zodiac speaking." With these chilling words, the killer formally claimed his moniker, a name that would forever be etched into the annals of true crime. In this letter, he corrected authorities on elements of his prior cipher, proving his intimate knowledge and control. He also provided a new, terrifying detail: he wore a disguise during his attacks. The Zodiac was not just a killer, he was a master manipulator, orchestrating a terrifying public performance, meticulously crafting his identity and projecting it onto an unsuspecting world. As the letters and ciphers continued to emerge, a palpable fear gripped Northern California. The idea that a killer was openly communicating with the press, challenging the police, and taunting the public, was unprecedented. People grew afraid to go out at night, especially to secluded areas. Lovers' lanes, once places of romance, became zones of potential death. Parents worried for their children. The media, caught between public service and sensationalism, fueled the widespread anxiety. The Zodiac had succeeded in his goal. He had injected a deep, corrosive fear into the daily lives of thousands, transforming the mundane into a potential death trap. The very air felt different, charged with unspoken dread. September 27, 1969. The Zodiac struck again, this time at Lake Berryessa in Napa County, a popular recreational spot. Brian Hartnell, 20, and Cecilia Shepard, 22, were enjoying a picnic by the lake. They were approached by a man wearing a black executioner-style hood with clip-on sunglasses over eye holes, and a bib-like device on his chest bearing the Zodiac symbol. He carried a gun and a knife. This encounter was different. It was an elaborate, terrifying ritual of control, a sadistic performance. The killer's brazen confidence was escalating, his methods growing more theatrical, more openly defiant of the societal norms he sought to shatter. The hooded assailant bound Brian and Cecilia with pre-cut clothesline. He then brutally stabbed them multiple times with a foot-long knife. Cecilia suffered 10 stab wounds, Brian 6. Before leaving, the killer used a black felt-tip pen to write a chilling message on Brian's car door: Vallejo December 20th, 68 July 4th, 69 Sep 27 to 69 6:30 p.m. by knife. And beneath it, the Zodiac symbol. Cecilia Shepard died 2 days later. Brian Hartnell, against all odds, survived. The meticulousness, the chosen weapon, the specific message, it all painted a picture of a killer who wasn't just driven by impulse, but by a horrifying, calculated plan, designed to inflict maximum terror and leave an undeniable mark. Just minutes after the Lake Berryessa attack, at 7:40 p.m., a phone call was made from a payphone in Napa, only a few blocks from the sheriff's office. The caller calmly reported the double murder he had just committed, explicitly naming the victims and the location, before hanging up. The call was traced, but the killer was gone. This was the third time the Zodiac had directly contacted authorities, each time closer, each time bolder. It demonstrated his profound psychological need to control the narrative, to play with the police, to revel in the chaos he created. He was challenging them, daring them to catch him, convinced of his own untouchability. Only 2 weeks later, on October 11, 1969, the Zodiac struck again, this time in the heart of San Francisco. Paul Stine, a 29-year-old taxi driver, picked up a fare near Mason and Geary Streets. The destination, Washington and Cherry, Presidio Heights, an affluent neighborhood. At the destination, Stine was shot once in the head, point blank. The killer then spent several minutes meticulously wiping down the taxi, taking Stine's wallet and car keys, and tearing a piece of his blood-stained shirt. This brazen act, committed in a residential area, under the glow of streetlights, marked an terrifying escalation in the Zodiac's confidence, shattering any illusion of safety within the city. The Stine murder offered the closest encounter police had with the Zodiac. 3 teenagers across the street witnessed parts of the crime. They initially called police about a man tampering with a car, not realizing it was a murder. They saw the killer wipe down the taxi, search Stine's pockets, and then walk away, heading north. Crucially, as police responded to the call, an officer drove right past a man matching the killer's description, heading away from the scene. Due to a miscommunication, the dispatch initially described the suspect as black, not white. This agonizing error allowed the Zodiac to walk away, providing an infuriating glimpse of what might have been, a moment that forever haunts investigators. Days after the Paul Stine murder, a letter arrived at the San Francisco Chronicle, postmarked October 14. It contained another chilling confession, explicit details of the Stine killing, and a horrifying trophy, a blood-stained piece of Paul Stine's shirt. The letter included a new threat: he would now target school children, bombing a school bus if his demands were not met. This act of sending a physical piece of a victim, a tangible link to his depravity, was a profound escalation. It cemented his identity not just as a killer, but as a sadistic showman, demonstrating his power and proximity to death, openly taunting the very authorities trying to stop him. The October 14th letter also contained another cipher, far more complex than the first: 340 symbols, a tangled web of characters that defied immediate decoding. For decades, this cipher remained unsolved, a symbol of the Zodiac's elusive genius and the enduring mystery surrounding his identity. It became one of the most famous unsolved cryptograms in history, challenging professional cryptographers and amateur sleuths alike. The killer's ability to craft such intricate puzzles was a testament to his calculated intellect, his desire not just to kill, but to intellectually dominate those who pursued him, leaving behind a persistent, frustrating enigma that mocked their every effort. For 51 agonizing years, the 340 cipher remained unbroken, a testament to the Zodiac's cunning. It was finally solved in December 2020 by a team of codebreakers, David Oranchak, Sam Blake, and Jarl Van Eyck, using specialized software and immense dedication. The message, like the first, was rambling and ego-driven, denying he was the killer from the movie The Exorcist and reiterating his intention to collect slaves for paradise. It offered no new clues to his identity, only more insight into his twisted mindset. The solution brought a degree of closure to one of the case's most baffling elements, yet the killer's ultimate identity remained frustratingly out of reach. While the Zodiac's confirmed killings began in late 1968, investigators began to look at earlier, similar crimes. One case stood out: the murder of Sherry Jo Bates, an 18-year-old college student, on October 30, 1966, in Riverside, California. She was found stabbed and nearly decapitated outside the Riverside City College library. Months later, typewritten letters were sent to police and the local newspaper, claiming responsibility for Bates' murder and containing cryptic messages. A chilling poem, found etched on a desktop at the college, seemed to confess to the crime. Was this the Zodiac's earliest known victim, 2 years before his official emergence? The connections between the Bates murder and the Zodiac's confirmed crimes were compelling but never definitively proven. The letters, the tone, the desire for recognition, and the chilling poem all mirrored the Zodiac's later patterns. One letter, sent almost a year after Bates' murder, was even signed with a crosshair-like symbol, similar to the Zodiac's emblem. Though authorities never officially linked the cases, many independent researchers and some law enforcement personnel believe Sherry Jo Bates was indeed an early victim, a grim prologue to the terror that would later engulf Northern California. If true, it means the Zodiac's reign of terror began earlier, and his evolution as a killer was even more calculated. In October 1969, a bizarre, macabre Halloween card arrived at the home of San Francisco Chronicle reporter Paul Avery, one of the journalists most heavily involved in covering the Zodiac. The card, filled with ominous drawings of skeletons and ghouls, contained a chilling message: "Peekaboo, you are doomed." It was another direct taunt, a personal message from the killer to someone closely following his every move. This playful yet sinister communication showcased the Zodiac's twisted sense of humor and his deep desire to engage with the media. He wasn't just observing the chaos, he was actively participating in it, finding perverse enjoyment in the widespread panic and personal dread he inflicted. The Zodiac Killer dominated headlines throughout the late 1960s and early 1970s. His letters, ciphers, and threats created a media sensation unlike anything seen before. Newspapers, television, and radio covered every development, every new taunt, every terrifying detail. This intense coverage, while necessary to inform the public of threats, also inadvertently gave the Zodiac the platform he craved. He reveled in the attention, using the press as his stage to perform his horrific drama. The symbiotic relationship between the killer and the media became a defining, and unsettling, aspect of the case, raising ethical questions about reporting on such events that persist even today. The Zodiac case presented an unprecedented challenge to law enforcement. Multiple agencies, Vallejo, Napa, San Francisco police departments, and the California Highway Patrol, were involved, often leading to jurisdictional conflicts and communication breakdowns. The killer's elusive nature, his shifting modus operandi, and his calculated taunts made him incredibly difficult to track. There was no clear motive, no obvious pattern other than a desire for infamy and control. The investigators, many of whom dedicated their lives to the case, faced immense public pressure and personal frustration, grappling with a killer who seemed to be always one step ahead, a ghost in the machine of justice. Beyond the headlines and the detective work, lay the profound, enduring pain of the victims' families. David Faraday, Betty Lou Jensen, Darlene Ferrin, Cecilia Shepard, and Paul Stein were real people, with lives, dreams, and loved ones. Their deaths left irreparable holes in countless lives. The constant media attention, the unsolved nature of the case, and the chilling taunts from the killer meant that for these families, true closure remained perpetually out of reach. Their grief was public, their questions unanswered, and their memories forever tinged with the horror of the Zodiac. It's a stark reminder that behind every sensational case are genuine human tragedies. Throughout the decades, numerous suspects emerged, but one name consistently rose to the top: Arthur Lee Allen. A former elementary school teacher and convicted child molester, Allen exhibited many traits consistent with the Zodiac's profile. He owned a Zodiac brand watch, expressed admiration for the killer, and had a history of violent fantasies. He was interviewed multiple times, his home searched, but crucial evidence linking him definitively to the crimes always seemed to be just out of reach. He became the face of the Zodiac in the public imagination, a chilling embodiment of the potential monster next door, yet never charged. The circumstantial evidence against Arthur Lee Allen was compelling. He was known to wear a Zodiac watch, had a dark sense of humor, and owned a Royal brand typewriter, similar to one used by the killer. He also reportedly told friends he was fascinated by the most dangerous game story, a theme found in Zodiac letters. However, fingerprint analysis, while inconclusive for decades, never definitively matched Allen's. Handwriting samples did not match. And critically, DNA evidence collected years later from the letters and envelopes also failed to definitively link him, or anyone else, to the Zodiac. The technology that promised answers, instead revealed more layers of frustration. While Arthur Lee Allen garnered the most attention, he was by no means the only suspect. Countless individuals were investigated, some publicly, some privately. Richard Gajkowski, a former newspaper editor, was also a prominent suspect due to his physical resemblance to the police sketch and his presence in the Bay Area during the murders. Lawrence Kane, a transient, was linked by some to the Lake Tahoe area, where Donna Lass vanished. Other names, like Rick Marshall and even Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, were at various points considered and largely dismissed. The sheer volume of potential leads, combined with the killer's ability to disappear, only deepened the labyrinthine nature of the investigation. In September 1970, Donna Lass, a 25-year-old nurse from State Line, Nevada, vanished from her job at the Sahara Tahoe Casino. 6 months later, a postcard arrived at the San Francisco Chronicle, depicting a postcard for forest pines and a drawing of a death wheel with the Zodiac symbol. On the back, it read, "Peek through the pines / around in the snow / state line / Tahoe / set to reverse." Many interpreted this as the Zodiac claiming another victim, specifically in the Lake Tahoe area. While her disappearance remains unsolved and was never officially attributed to the Zodiac, the chilling message bears his unmistakable style, adding another layer to his potential victim count and geographic reach. The Zodiac's threat to bomb a school bus, first mentioned in his October 14, 1969 letter, caused widespread panic. School districts across California took extreme precautions, with some even canceling bus services. The thought of a killer targeting innocent children was almost unthinkable, yet the Zodiac had proven capable of any depravity. He included a diagram in a later letter showing how he planned to construct such a bomb, further heightening fears. While no such attack ever materialized, the threat itself was a powerful weapon, demonstrating the psychological impact the Zodiac had. He didn't always need to kill to inflict terror, his words alone were often enough to send shockwaves. After 1969, the letters from the Zodiac became less frequent, but no less disturbing. In March 1971, he claimed to have murdered nearly a dozen victims, boasting of his growing tally. Later letters in 1974 were sporadic and less coherent, sometimes rambling, sometimes angry. He sent a communication in January 1974, complaining that newspapers were no longer publishing his letters, indicating his persistent need for attention. The final, officially recognized letter was received in January 1974, though some disputed communications continued into 1978. It was a slow, agonizing fade, leaving authorities unsure if he had died, been incarcerated for other crimes, or simply decided to stop. The last officially acknowledged letter from the Zodiac Killer was received on January 29, 1974. It was brief, featuring a cutout from a news article about the Exorcist film, followed by the chilling phrase, Me 37, SFPD 0. He was still keeping score, still taunting the police, reveling in his perceived victory. After this, the stream of communications, once so consistent, dwindled to almost nothing. One controversial letter in 1978, dubbed the bus bomb letter, was initially authenticated but later dismissed. The sudden, near-total silence left an unsettling void. Had he finally gotten bored? Was he dead? Or did he simply retreat into the shadows, a ghost having played his deadly game to its conclusion? The disappearance of the Zodiac Killer from public view was as enigmatic as his emergence. He simply vanished. No more letters, no more ciphers, no more confirmed murders. The sudden cessation of activity has fueled endless speculation. Did he die? Was he institutionalized? Did he move to another area and continue his crimes under a different persona? Or did he simply achieve his goal of terrorizing an entire region and then retire from his horrific game? The absence of a definitive end to his reign of terror only amplified his legend, transforming him from a concrete threat into a terrifying, uncatchable specter, forever lurking at the edges of memory. The Zodiac Killer case left an indelible mark on the landscape of true crime. It redefined the concept of a serial killer, introducing the idea of a predator who directly engaged with the media and authorities. His methods, his ciphers, and his taunts set a chilling precedent. The case inspired countless books, documentaries, and films, cementing his place as a cultural icon of terror. It also fundamentally altered police investigative techniques, highlighting the need for interagency cooperation and improved forensic methods. The Zodiac's shadow extends far beyond his victims, shaping how we understand and react to the darkest aspects of human nature, a perpetual case study in fear. Decades later, the Zodiac case remains officially open. Advances in forensic technology, particularly DNA analysis and genealogical research, continue to offer faint glimmers of hope. Cold case units periodically revisit the evidence, hoping a new technique or a fresh pair of eyes might uncover what was missed. The original letters and envelopes are meticulously preserved, holding the silent promise of a breakthrough. While some breakthroughs, like the solving of the 340 cipher, have occurred, the ultimate prize, the killer's identity, continues to elude capture. Each new piece of technology brings renewed hope, but also the potential for further disappointment, making it a frustratingly persistent puzzle. The Zodiac Killer remains nameless, his face known only through composite sketches. His motives, beyond a twisted desire for fame and control, are still debated. He exists as a terrifying abstraction, a symbol of the random, senseless violence that can shatter lives. He is a haunting reminder that some monsters walk among us, unseen, unheard, until they choose to reveal themselves in the most brutal ways. The lack of closure for the victims' families, and for society as a whole, underscores the deep injustice left by his crimes. He is not just a killer, he is a permanent question mark in the collective consciousness, a phantom that refuses to fully disappear. The true cost of the Zodiac Killer's rampage cannot be measured solely in lives lost, but in the pervasive fear he sowed. He instilled a deep distrust, a sense of vulnerability, transforming everyday spaces into potential hunting grounds. He proved that evil could be intelligent, calculated, and utterly unconcerned with human suffering. The Zodiac forced communities to confront the fragility of their peace, leaving a psychological scar that lingers to this day. His actions were a stark lesson in terror, a reminder that the greatest horror can often come from the darkest corners of the human mind, deliberately seeking to unravel the very fabric of society. The Zodiac case continues to captivate and obsess. Amateur sleuths, professional investigators, and true crime enthusiasts worldwide dedicate countless hours to dissecting every letter, every cipher, every piece of evidence. This relentless pursuit stems from a fundamental human need for justice, for answers, for understanding. We want to know who he was, to comprehend the darkness that drove him, to finally put a name to the monster. The Zodiac Killer's enduring grip on our imagination is a testament to the primal fear of the unknown, and the persistent hope that one day, even after decades, the truth will finally emerge from the shadows. The hunt for Zodiac continues, not just in police files, but in the collective consciousness. Despite the passage of over 5 decades, the hope for resolution in the Zodiac case persists. Every new cold case technique, every advancement in DNA technology, brings a renewed sense of possibility. The goal is not just to identify the killer, but to provide some measure of peace for the victims' families, to finally close a chapter that has remained agonizingly open for too long. The Zodiac's crimes remind us that some stories refuse to end, that some mysteries demand answers across generations. And so, the world waits, watches, and continues to search for the ghost of the Zodiac, hoping to finally bring his chilling saga to its rightful, definitive conclusion. The Zodiac Killer, a name synonymous with terror and unsolved mystery, left behind a legacy that continues to resonate profoundly. He forever changed the landscape of law enforcement, media relations, and public perception of safety. His chilling ciphers and taunting letters continue to fascinate and horrify, a dark testament to a mind driven by a need for control and infamy. The shadow he cast over Northern California in the late 1960s and early 70s remains, a potent reminder of the darkness that can lurk unseen, a testament to the enduring power of an enigma. The Zodiac Killer's story is a harrowing chapter in American crime, unfinished and unsettling to this very day.